All right, squad. So we all know that a lot of creators are using Figma. Obviously, some people use Photoshop still, unlucky. But using Figma to create thumbnails and stuff. I stumbled across this interview, which was really interesting. It was about the new app called Paper.
Ooh.
So I wanted to have a look. Firstly, I was like, why would you even bother trying to compete against Figma for a start? But it's very interesting what they thought. So a lot of people have also been saying, obviously, as apps grow, they get more complex and stuff, and they kind of start siloing out or neglecting some more designer type people, because Figma's all about like design systems, and it's kind of moving to more enterprise. We all see this in the life of an app.
Yeah.
It starts with a core team, and then it kind of
Hmm.
matures into
Everything app.
enterprise, right? Like that's where we go. We want to make big money. So that's what's happened. But it's very interesting. So what these guys are doing with Paper is like, it's like an infinite canvas style, which I almost feel like is what Figma is or does. But what they're really rethinking the way what a canvas can be in the design system. So what's really cool here is you actually can see, they can run video inside the canvas. This actually animates. So this little piece of sky is animating in the back. So what that's really cool means you can actually export video from the canvas itself. So it's going to step up. I guess it's stepping up on top of Figma, because Figma can't really do that natively. So and also built in like these little rendering engines. What was that? They're the shaders. The
Shaders,
so you,
yeah. Using,
can
I don't know if
generate.
they were WebGL, but they look like similar to how you would use WebGL shaders.
Yeah, it's legit, and it spits out like the code for React components natively. So it's actually really cool. And then what you got here, the way they've built this is, you've got, these are controlling the props of the component. So you can actually drop like React components into the canvas and they render, and then you can control the props using all these things. So it's like you expose them out. So it's creating a really cool thing for like developers and designers. You know how we always talk about that, Daryl? Like how to get the exact React component out of the tool. And I think this is what they're doing. They're building it native. So they're literally trying to compete with Figma.
It's crazy.
They're
They've got
trying to
quite
get
a few.
acquired by Figma. They're going the right way to get a quick acquisition letter.
Yeah. So and what blew my mind was that they've built this entire thing using React, and I'm like, how is this going to handle? Because Figma was built from the ground up with its own rendering engine to be able to handle, like, I don't know if you've ever seen a Daryl design file. I feel sorry for the
They're
devs.
junky.
I'm like, I could not build an app that was performant enough to handle that. So I'm going to be interested to see how they're doing this, but very cool. So it'll be a very interesting way to do thumbnails. Like, imagine like the variants, like you can literally have a shader running and it's like cruising through the backgrounds and just.
Yeah, that's messing my brain up.
So this actually plays and changes color through here. So like, look, copy as React. That's what I was saying here. So this is like, look, I see how it's animating, and you can like stop it and change the speed and the rotation and do all that kind of stuff in live time.
What is that then? Is that the video, but it's just zoomed in a bit when you were rotating then, or is that completely generated there?
It's generated.
Like, is that just a smoke generation thing?
Yeah, it's being rendered in real time.
It's like Cinema 4D or Blender that does those things, like volumetric smoke, and you just change variables. But this is output to web. That's very cool. I expect to see smoke on our landing page next time.
Yeah. How sick would this be though? Imagine if thumbs could become like dynamic. Dude. Imagine if you could have like a subtle animation in the background of your
just
thumb.
a little bit of
100%.
Yeah.
Did the amount of time I spend like putting something into ChatGPT just to see what it would look like if it was a little different? Obviously, GPT is not going to give me anything worth using usually, but the fact that you could use this and be like, yeah, something doesn't feel right, scroll through, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. And imagine if you built like components of yourself, or like you literally put imagine if you just stood there and got like a 3D photo of yourself, and you can just rotate yourself. You're like, okay, turn that. You know, you guys are playing with the lighting.
Crazy. Yeah.
You could have a light and then just like literally turn, and then just film it and they're like, oh no, turn me this way a bit, turn me a bit, and you have a
That
full
is
3D
sick.
of that.
Yeah, that is sick. And I was just looking at some AI stuff.
Shock slider, and as you get to 100%, it's
dude.
like
Mr. Beast slider. It's just more money.
Plastics
The more you
your
pump it
face.
up, it's like Lambos start appearing in the back, you know? Dude,
But
that is
that's
crazy.
cool, eh?
Yeah, is that real time, seeing the final product real time and then just making adjustments to the product, not trying to build the product and then make adjustments. It's weird to think about. It's almost like you're doing, and we're kind of doing that with our editing process, right? Like have an AI cut through the first edit so we can focus on making it actually good rather than spending an hour just to get the first cut right. It's the same thing, but in this case, but so when you say it's a React component, like it just comes out as code. So if you go copy as React, that just gives you a bunch of code.
Yeah, brother. There it is.
Dude, nah, that's so crazy.
So they're pulling in warp shader from their shaders React, and there's the shader, and there's all the props that are being exposed.
What?
And then you could drop that into your website or wherever you wanted to, and it'd be perfect.
and they're also like shaders that can apply to the grayscale values of an image of a video as well, I guess, right? I think that's what that is.
Yeah, so you
So I
put that on
think that's a
top.
fluid video, and then they've put the digital shader on top, so it's just reading the color values or the brightness and saturation, and then it's
I think it's
putting the
legit.
shader on top.
It's actually being generated from scratch.
Yeah,
I don't think there's
looks-
a video behind it. It's a component.
I need some of
rendering
that.
the web.
Get me some of that.
So
How much does it cost?
essentially,
It's not available right now, but this example, they actually dropped it into one of the code tools from theirs into a code tool and then got it to render.
yeah, that's
That
frightening.
for me blows my mind. I'm like,
That is crazy.
man, imagine like getting a button,
Yeah.
like, and you just running Shad CN Daryl straight up in paper, and you just changed it, and then you just drop it.
it's huge.
That's
How do you? So obviously, competing with Figma is very difficult. Being able to drop the code in is very handy. How do you become like the chosen shader / design thing for all of the no code vibe codey tools?
Yeah.
So that it goes, I'm just going to go to paper and generate it and bring it back in, and then how do you get paid if you do that? I'm just wondering how they're going to make money.
It'll just be a Figma subscription. I reckon they're just going to try and attack designers from a different angle. So the ones that are going to be unhappy with Figma, you know where it is at the moment. And they've got design systems built in, but I think the advantage you get from starting now is that you see all the things that people wanted and you can kind of avoid all the baggage. It's like any product, right? Like if we were to go back in time and rebuild our one, we'd avoid so many things because we'd know, hey, we're going to go here, so let's just skip all that. And I think that's what
I
they've
mean,
probably been
even Figma, for an example, I think would go back and they wouldn't try and do the enterprise version of design systems that they did because they haven't touched it in ages now. They did like, obviously, color variables, font variables, that all makes sense. But I think once they tried to launch it and push it to devs, you can use this, they realized that implementing it in an actual business with like enterprise level business, everyone was like, nah, it's too hard. We'll just spool up our own like token library.
I mean, it's a massive task. I wouldn't personally do it, but it was very interesting. It's just like the world's going to look really cool in the future. And this is where I just like, when I made the joke about Photoshop, but I actually think Photoshop for thumbs is like, it's so archaic. It's caveman. Like when you can get stuff.
We just literally need a tool though that does better with. It's so hard to still beat for like faces, photo manipulation in that way. I hate using it for layers and using it for components now that I've started in Figma.
Yeah,
because it's just so much quicker.
You use Photoshop for photos.
Yeah.
Or you use Lightroom for photos, and then you export your photo, and then you move on with your life and do all the editing. One thing's really interesting, another that people also think in the comments were saying like, build me Figma for CMYK or for print. You know, like where's that? Where's that tool where you can literally build like beautiful documents that you actually print? Because let's be honest, print is not going anywhere.
No.
And there's no
if
one.
they could take the InDesign and Illustrator, I mean, they pretty much already have Illustrator other than CMYK and millimeters.
But you need
But
that.
if they could take the InDesign, like variables that apply through the whole thing, the way pages should be connected from frames, like they could probably do it. Whether or not they think it's worth any money, I don't know. They've probably got a few experts from Adobe who know it, like InDesign as a product doesn't make Adobe much money, and they're like, meh.
Yeah, I think there's so much to generating PDFs properly to spec. Like we know, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So I think there's a tool there, someone to attack. That's what everyone's like. Why didn't they just build that? It would have been, you would have had a bigger market. But it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
No, that's
Can you
cool.
go to their website quickly? Just want to see what their
Quick
front-end
roast.
got.
Oh, I like
Beautiful.
Oh, it looks nice.
I like
Little
it.
dot grid with a piece of paper on top of it.
So,
How
I
much
mean-
money they raised in seed? 4.2.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
Good work, guys.
it looks.
Oh, so
very
that
big.
looks more like a Figma. The thing you were looking at before in the demo was very video heavy. That looks more normal Figma.
That looks like Figma.
I think it's a design tool. If you imagine trying to make a design tool and not making it look like every
Oh,
other
yeah.
design tool, it'd be
Yeah, no, you
suicide.
can't. So
Dang,
there's
man.
that interesting way to hire, and then there's the little thing, and then the paper shaders. So they're real big on the old shaders, which is
Yeah.
for me is very interesting. I don't quite understand it, but yeah, very cool. So
Nice, man. Open my brain
I
up.
wonder if they can make the shaders loop, because I reckon if you wanted to use shaders, it would be in ads, like meta ads and stuff. You'd want like your pattern happening in the background, but you would want it to be able to return to first position clean.
I'm pretty sure this is what this is doing.
And the ad would change color depending on the person's preferences.
Oh.
That would be wild.
I buy when I see green.
Yeah. When I see green.
It'd be sick for being able to animate stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, the future's going to look really cool.
Yeah, dude.